Hello and welcome to another episode of 177 Nations of Tasmania. In this episode, I'm talking to Carlos from Colombia, and I'm looking forward to hearing about his experiences of settling here. Now, the South American population, like several other migrant groups, has increased a bit in Tasmania due to the federal government's regional migration programs, and this has brought in a whole lot of new cultures to our state, and the Colombians in particular are one of the newest, and I'm really looking forward to learning a bit more about the Colombian culture and Carlos's personal experiences.
Thank you, Mark, for your invitation.
Well, thank you for answering my call for South Americans.
My pleasure.
Anyway, first question is a fairly easy one. What brought you to Tasmania in the first place?
I came to Tasmania with my wife because we were looking for a quiet place, something different against Bogota, who is my place in Colombia. And we think that Tasmania, we were reading a lot about Tasmania, and we realized that it's a very natural place and it's a very quiet place, and people are friendly here. So for this reason, we chose Tasmania. But on the other hand, we chose Tasmania because we like to apply for our resident PR visa. So in regional places are easier than in the main cities in Australia.
It's also a reason why in probably the last 3 or 4 years the population of Tasmania has actually increased more than it has for decades, and it's become more diverse.
That's true.
So did you come here directly from Colombia?
No, at the beginning we arrived to Melbourne because personally I liked Melbourne because I am very sport man. So I like Formula One, the Open of Australia, and I say, why if we are going to come to Australia, why don't come to Melbourne, because it's a very famous city. The lifestyle is one of the best in the world, and would be interesting to be there. So we spent 1 year there, but we realized that it was not easy to apply for permanent residence in Melbourne.
Oh, so when did you come to Tasmania?
Yesterday was 3 years.
3 years, okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
September 2017.
Yeah, not so long.
Nope.
And what was your reason for leaving Colombia in the first place?
You know, we were some tired about working so hard for low incomes, and we struggling all time to get a better jobs to increase our incomes, our lifestyle. But Colombia is it's sad to say, but it's very corrupt country. Not for people, it's for politicians. For this reason, we were tired, and one day we think with my wife, why don't choose another place in the world and go very far away. At the beginning we think in Canada and Australia, so we have to decide, evaluate, assess our options, and finally Australia won.
And what was the deciding factor in the end?
Because the weather.
You're in Tasmania.
Yeah, it's ironic because for this reason we choose Melbourne, because it's not too cold, but it's not. Tasmania is not too cold as Canada. But on the other hand, here at that time, like 4 years ago, we were able to work and study here. In Canada, we were not able to work there, just study, and it's very expensive for us.
So you initially came as a student?
Yep, as a student visa.
Yeah, and to study what?
My wife started to study English because she didn't speak any English. I just spoke a little English, and that course helped her a lot to increase her level of English. And she spent about 9 months studying there.
And what were you doing during that time?
Just working, looking for jobs. I did a lot of kinds of jobs that I never did in the past in my country. So it was an amazing experience. At the beginning was some struggling. I was thinking to go back to Colombia, because for me it was very hard. I used to work in an office in my country in administrative staff, and 15 days after I was in a construction, cleaner all the stuff and everything. And for us in my country, we see this kind of jobs like not important. Yeah. Australia taught me that all jobs are very important.
So you did a lot of sort of more physical, low status kind of jobs, I guess, just to keep keep the money
Yeah,
coming in?
important.
Yeah.
Important.
So what was your background in Colombia? I mean, in terms of your work and career?
I am an industrial engineer and I used to work with the fire department in Colombia, in Bogota. I was working in planning and I used to work in projects during my life. I just working in projects.
Yeah, so what would be an example of the kind of project?
Yeah, good question. The main kind of projects that I develop is a social projects. It's very interesting because I am industrial engineer, and when you hear industrial engineer, it's just production or machinery or a budget. But I had the opportunity to work for Red Cross in my country in a project with people displacement by guerrillas. And
when you say guerrillas, we're talking about the fighters, not the animal.
Yes, sure. Like illegal groups, illegal army groups. These people suffer a lot. And my role was coordinate a group of people to help these people to restart their lives. So we used to do psychological support. And then we provide a training to help them to set up their own businesses. Yeah. So we provide a small amount and they can grow up these businesses. And then it was a very rewarding job. This project taught me a lot because as an engineer, you just work with numbers. But I was able to see the human pain, and it felt very shocking, in that time. And I love it. I learned to love that job. And since that time, I keep going just in social projects.
When you first came to Tasmania, what were your first impressions actually?
To be honest, I loved the nature, and this isle is amazing. It's unbelievable. It's very beautiful. It's like in the pictures, But I didn't like the lifestyle because we were looking for some quiet place, but this was very quiet. And I am like a town man, yep. So I'm get used to live in a very busy city, crowded, and here was like a shock. But it was my first impression. Then I learned to love this place. Indeed, now in December we were in Colombia, and was terrible to fight again with the traffic and a lot of people. When we came back to Tasmania, we felt like a relief, like you feel that you're home.
Yeah. Did you have a job when you came here?
No, we received assessment from an immigration lawyer. He told us you have two options, he said, Tasmania or Adelaide. And we again assess both options and we choose Tasmania. But we were blind. So just, I don't know, we pack our things, take the car, take the ferry, and let's go. When we arrived, just starting to looking for jobs, we arrived to an Airbnb, like a small flat, and we have to looking for a flat or house or something to live. But the most important thing after get a place to live, get a job, because the savings started to go down, and if you don't work, you don't have anything.
Yeah. And so how did you go about? I mean, you're in a new place and I guess you didn't know anybody or many people?
No, nobody. We first advertisement that we see in Facebook was for a Latin American group. They used to meet in the city in a bar to Spanish conversations. And we choose to go there and try to expand our networks. This was our first step here.
So how did you go about finding work?
Yeah, it was hard. Jobs here are not like in Melbourne. The opportunities are just a few opportunities. Yeah. And it was funny because all the time has been very funny because my wife is the first person who always gets the first job. Doesn't matter her English, her low English. She I don't know why, but she's very lucky. And she was,
She says?
huh?
Does she have the same story?
Yeah.
Or does she say it's no, it's because I'm better than you?
So no, sometimes she said, I think she loved me. That they love me. They don't love you. I say, no, I think they prefer women. But you never know.
Nice.
Yeah. So yeah, she got a job in a catering, but I was not able to get any job, and I applied for everything. Finally, we arrived in September, and a man who we met in that group, a Spanish group, he works in a farm, and he helped us a lot because he got a hand. He gave us a hand to work in that farm in November, from November until February, March. So it was very helpful in that time.
What kind of farm?
It's an apple farm in Huonville.
Okay.
Yeah, and we used to do a thinning job. It's like a take off all the small apples and just leave the big apples in the bunch. It was a seasonal job for 3 months. I was lucky because at the beginning the man mentioned that it was just a couple of months, but that year the production was very high, and I was working until March, so 2 or 3 months more.
And in the meantime, were you looking for other work more suited to your background?
Sure. Since the first time that I put a feet here in Tasmania, I started to looking for a job in my background, but I was not successful. Then I was like 3 months without any job, but I started to do a volunteer job at Multicultural Council of Tasmania. They work with multicultural things, which I love to work. I enjoyed that time there. I was there like 6 months. Okay. But no money, just volunteer. But I was lucky because like in May, got a strong rain in Hobart. I heard in the news that like that kind of rain didn't matter like many years ago.
Oh yeah, that's when there was flooding. The whole city was flooded.
But it was lucky. I say I was lucky because everything was flooded, as you say. And I got a job as a cleaner in the Utahs. So it was good for me because
a lot of work.
Yeah, I had many work. And at the beginning, they hired me just for 15 days. And this job was for 2 months. So it was helpful for me as well. All the time I was struggling to looking for jobs. And finally, in September that year, 2018, someone called me from Red Cross here in Hobart. I was very excited because they emailed me. No, first they emailed me, then called me. There were an opportunity to work in Bridgewater in a project called MATES. This program works with people who have mental problems, and we help them to get outside of the isolation through volunteer jobs who support them. But the funny thing is that I took that interview because they called for me for an interview, and this interview was for another job, for some working with family parents or something like that. And I was a really good interview, despite I didn't know anything about family and parents here in Australia. But the manager in that time, I liked it. And she said, "You know a lot of this matter." I said, "Yes, because I had my background in Colombia about social projects, everything, all the stuff." And she said, "You are not so successful for this job, but come back on Friday, I remember, and I am going to propose you something." Oh, it was like sweet words for my head. And I came back on Friday, and she told me about MATES program. She said she told me it's just a work for 3 months because this role is a person who is in holidays or something. She's going to come back in January. I told her doesn't matter. For me, it's important. It's my first opportunity. Doesn't matter if it's 1 week. I am going to take that job. And she said, "It's yours job," and I started to work there.
Mm-hmm. And so then how was that? Was it what you expected?
It was hard because I had to coordinate people, and despite I was working in a social project in Colombia, it's not the same coordinate people there that coordinate people here. Mm-hmm. because people here are very organized, in very discipline. In my country, no, it's different. And here you have to be very respectful, because in my country, if you coordinate people, you have to be very bossy. Otherwise, people don't follow you. Here it's different. You just give them tasks, and they looking for ways to answer for solve those tasks. But you don't have to say all the time, you have to give me that, or you have until Friday to give me your task. And I was very kid against this kind of behaviors. But I learned a lot. And another hard thing was working with people with mental problems, because I was to visit there, and I am no psychologist. In my life, I was seeing people, as I mentioned before, displacement by legal groups, but no with mental problems. And you have to be careful. And if you don't have psychologist background, you don't know how to react in some situations. For me, it was challenging, but I learned a lot. I have a good manager, a good teamwork. They talked me a lot, and finally I enjoyed it. Melissa was my manager, and she said, "I like you to stay here in Red Cross, because you are doing your job well, but I cannot promise nothing." In that time, she mentioned that she met a man who used to work with migration, and I told her, "Oh, I love to work with migration, because I already work with migration as well in my country in NGO, whose name is International Organization for Migration, and I know how to work with migration, and I am a migrant." So, and we had a meeting with him, and he told me that maybe they had an opportunity to work there, but nothing for sure. But lucky again, 2 weeks after, they called me and they say, "We have a role. If you like, we are going to propose what are your things, what are your tasks, what you have to do." I say, obviously, I love to hear that. And I enjoy it to hear that kind of job, because it's my current job. So at the beginning, I was contract for 1 year and a half. And this year, they extend my contract for 1 year more. So I felt in what that time was like many sensations in your head, because after many things happened in Australia, finally I got the thing that I dreamed, and it was very rewarding. It has been very rewarding for me.
Did you find it easy to get to know local people?
At the beginning, not too much, because here English is very hard in Tassie. And people are very different as we are in Latin America. They are very serious, I don't know how to say, they are very private, no? We are in Colombia, we are very friendly. And it was not easy, but then we started to meet, thanks to this group, to this Spanish group, we started to meet local people from Australia. And it was nice, because we realized that they are friendly, very friendly. They're very kind. Some of them help us to get jobs. So they sent us, "Look, you can apply here, you can apply there, or come to my house for a barbecue. If you need something, just call us. And, don't feel shame, no worries." We started to feel nice. We are Christian with my wife, Christians. We used to go to a Christian church, and there we met very beautiful people. They gave us the opportunity to be volunteers in the church, to learn how to make coffee. So it was useful for us, because if you know how to make coffee, you can work in a cafeteria or something doing coffee.
So you learned to make coffee here?
Yeah.
You're from Colombia.
Yeah. But I mean to use the machine.
Like to be a barista.
Yeah, barista, because in my country we prepare coffee very craft, like a very rustic way. Yeah. So no with machines, nothing like that. I am originally from Popayán. Popayán is a small town on the south of Colombia. But I am from Bogota because I have lived there all my life, from since I was 3 years old.
Can you give me an idea? What was it like growing up in Bogota? What was the kind of environment you grew up in?
It's a challenge because it's the biggest city and it has very good things. It has very bad things. So I studied in a private school because the public education in my country is very bad. So you have to study in a private school. And I have 2 brothers, 1 sister. All of us studied there. My mother was the only person who helped us to study and to grow up, because my father and her was divorced since I was like 9 or 10 years old. Yeah, and it was hard. Growing up without a father is challenging because you face many things there in Bogota. You have to face things like drugs, alcohol, unsafety, and many things. Bad friends. Yeah. So if you don't have a good values, you get in troubles.
What was sort of the family life like? Did you have to be very independent, or did everyone look after each other? What was the family life like?
We are very familiar. In Colombia, we used to live together until adults, indeed. It's not like here in Australia, it's very different. When you have 18, bye. There, no, you can, it's not so common to see someone who is 18 years old and go out. In Colombia, we used to live together until adult ages. So we, as well, live with our mother until maybe, I don't know, 30 years old. Yep.
To get married, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like in some, actually quite a few countries are like that, aren't they?
Yeah, and when you, for example, if you get married, you used to gather all family on weekends. It's like a tradition.
Okay.
Yeah, all weekends for have lunch or for have a dinner or something like that.
And you mentioned before about corruption I just want to, because I think in Australia when people use the word corruption a lot also, but I think it has a different meaning, or it's used in a different way. What would be an example in Colombia if you were talking about corruption? What would you consider corruption?
Yeah, Colombia has a lot of money, because all people pay their taxes, almost all people, because the only people who don't pay taxes are government people, and why they are corrupt. So it's a good question because it's like it's cultural. Yeah. In Colombia, always have been leading by a pool of families. So they, for example, for years is a president of the family X, and next 4 years family G, next years family Z, and again 4 years family X, Y, Z. So they rotate the power among some families, some privileged families, and they all the time steal all the money of the all public money. So they don't spend in education, in public health, in transport. For this reason, the majority of people are more than 50% are in extreme poor. So when I say extreme poor, they don't have nothing to eat. And the other part of the population, like 35 or 40%, are like me. We are able to get a job, but they don't have enough incomes for survive. And there are a minority, like 5%, who have all the money of the country. So, and they are very selfish. They don't like to people try to grow up. You know, the ironic thing is that all people live very stressful, very scary because they see all this corruption, but they don't feel they feel impotent to do something. So they have some. I say they have, but I am not agree. They have to, for example, pay the police for don't get a fine. Or do something that you don't have to do, illegal thing. So there are a famous journalists in Colombia that say that we are all Colombians are sick. We are all sick, from the person who sell the coffee until the president, because everyone are selfish. Everyone try to say lies to other people just to get their advantage. So it's a cultural thing.
That's a negative part of the culture, but let's talk about some of the things that you like about Colombia. What would you say are the best aspects of Colombian culture?
We are very strong. I think despite we have been hit by life, we are able to get up again. I think people are very strong. People are very working hard. They're working very hard. Doesn't matter the time that they have to start. Doesn't matter what time they have to finish. An important thing for me is we are very happy. We are very friendly with everyone. If you go to Colombia, you can say that everyone like to help you to get, for example, orientation in a street, or we are very, very friendly. We have very good things like food, wide variety of food. If you go for the coast, you can get different dishes that you have and different meals that you have in the south or in the towns. For example, in the north, obviously seafood is very popular. In Bogota is famous delicious soup. The name is ajiaco. It's cooked with chicken and potatoes, and it's a special spicy thing. I don't know if it's spicy the word, sorry, but it's a special ingredient. This is the famous meal in Colombia, in Bogota, sorry. But if you go to the south, you can get another kind of soup. They put everything in the water. And if you go for Medellin, for example, Medellin is another place. They have something called bandeja paisa. It's like a big dish, and you can find everything there. So meat, beef, pork, beans, rice, egg, sausages. So it's very heavy for your stomach, but it's delicious.
And what's your favorite thing about living in Tasmania so far?
I feel safe. This is very important for me. The last years living in Colombia, I felt some anxious. I started to suffer anxiety because I felt unsafe everywhere, because I was stolen, robbed a couple of times, and I felt they took with knives and everything, and I got very scared in that time. And I was tired of to feel that sensation. Since I been here in Tassie, I feel more relaxed. And when I was to Colombia in December, I was the third day that I was there, I saw how someone stole the mobiles of two guys, and they passed in front of me, and I had like a flashback, like a post-traumatic stress or something. Oh my God, I felt like very, very anxious, very scary. And in that moment, I appreciate to live here. I think this is the most important thing for me.
Well, and then on the other side, what's your, let's say, least favorite thing or most difficult thing about living in Tasmania?
I think the most difficult thing for me is I don't have variety of things, is better answer. A variety. So in a big city, I can choose from many options. Here is very hard. Sometimes On a weekend, I don't have many plans to do because it's very small and you have the same things, the same plans all weekend. So at least for me.